Hey, I want to thank you guys for actually listening to this if you are on whatever part of the internet you may be from. But my name is Shane, and welcome to The Passion Designer, a podcast about passions and what drives them. I decided to make this podcast because I wanted to document a place and time for people that I know and that I love and that I support on what their passion is and why they do it. I think that it's important that I document this. There's people that think my age group, millennials, are very lazy and have no passion to do anything, but when in reality is we are working on things behind the scenes to show the world. And I think that's really cool that we all get the opportunity to do that because the internet has grown as much as it has. We all have a passion, and whether that be something that we create or something that we do, I think that it should be showcased, and I'd love to get to know what people think and pick their brain apart on why they do the things they do. Without further ado, my name is Shane, and this is The Passion Designer. Here comes the fun part, introducing myself to people who actually don't know me. My name is Shane once again, and I am a graphic designer from Illinois. I graduated from Lewis University in Romeoville, Illinois in 2017. I have passions in many different fields other than art. And my life actually did not start like that because I actually wasn't an artist until very later in my life. There's a lot of things that I did growing up that I don't do now, and there's a lot of things that I've caught on to as time goes on because we grow as people, and I think that's super important to realize that we're creating our own future here. I currently work for a few Remax locations out of Illinois as a marketing coordinator, so I do lots of graphic design and video work, but those aren't really my passions, I would say. I have a lot more than that in my bag. I feel like I do a lot of different things that makes me unique to someone who may be listening out there who may not have an identity and is looking for theirs, because I do a totally different thing when I leave work. One of my passions is definitely for the last 10 years, I've been creating content on YouTube and Twitch off and on, and I find it to be one of the most insane things I've done in my life up until this point. I did amass up to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, although the channel is pretty much dormant because I had to stop because of school, and I have amassed about 1,500 followers on Twitch as a video game broadcaster. I play a variety of different games, mainly being Call of Duty and various story games. I'm very passionate about video games, and I really have played them my entire life. I've played them since I was 4 or 5 years old. I remember being very, very young and playing Pokemon on the Game Boy Color as one of my earliest memories of me playing video games. But I played video games for all my life throughout middle school, elementary school, high school, and even college, and I still play them to this day. Not as much as I used to because I have priorities now of being an adult and paying tons of student loans and loans for my car and etc. But I do make money off of my Twitch, and I find it to be interesting that people do support me through that, and people have been supporting me through a long time of creating content, and I really do appreciate those people very much. My other passion is e-commerce. I do a lot on eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari, and even more platforms that I sell on. I love selling clothes, and I love selling shoes. I love fashion. I think fashion is a very important part of my life that has come later down the line. I used to not believe in the clothes that I was wearing, and I think that having certain clothes and having a certain look can definitely change your life. So I started selling vintage clothes and shoes on the internet when I got out of college to help me pay my bills. To this day, it's been one of the most fun times I've had buying and selling online. It's created a great revenue stream for me, and it's also great to have a community who does the same thing and getting ideas from those people. With those laid out, now you know a little bit about me. There's some smaller things that I do love that I'm going to mention here. That way, if we connect on a personal level, you can always come to me and ask me questions about that. So some of the smaller things that I do enjoy is I love music. Music is honestly a big part of my life, and it was during high school. I love sports. I love watching NBA, NFL, and soccer. Does not matter the league. I'm all about it. And on the side, I do freelance work for smaller businesses, helping them get a social media presence and more. To be honest, that's all you really need to know. There's nothing more about me that is very interesting or anything like that. Hopefully with this podcast, you will find more and more things about me that you can like or dislike. That is totally up to you. But my views are always my own. So what is a passion designer? And why am I making this podcast the way it is? I came up with the passion designer because I thought, I spend a lot of time designing, and I'm also designing what I want to do later in my life or for the rest of my life outside of my work. I know I do a lot of graphic design in my work, but I don't want that to be the end result and the end thing that I do. I have a lot of different ideas and a lot of different values that I love that don't pertain to just doing straight graphic design. And that's why I wanted to share them here and share them with people in my life who are doing the same thing I am. The format of this podcast is basically an interview style where I bring a guest on to talk about what they do and why they do it. It's as simple as that. No extra shit. It's just basically, hey, you do this thing. I think it's really cool. You should come on my podcast and talk about it. I like this idea a lot because you meet people that you may never meet in person, but you get to learn their story and why they do things. And then they maybe catch on and you could say, hey, I listened to this podcast and I learned about them way before they were cool. With that being said, I don't know if I'm going to have a co-host for this podcast unless I deem it necessary, like I don't get enough content out for this podcast or it's not long enough. Then I realize that there are definitely questions that other people can ask who aren't directly connected to the people that we are interviewing here on The Passion Designer. The format is left open-ended because I like so many things. I didn't want to be constrained to a box when it came to just doing one on video games or just doing one on clothing and fashion design and thrifting and all that sort of stuff. I had to do that when I was in college in my podcasting class, and I realized I didn't have as much fun with it rather than just bringing people in who had thoughts on their opinions and what they do. I think it keeps things fresh as far as that goes. You have a different person who comes in every week or so to talk about what they do in a different industry that you may not be involved in, and they tell their story. And if you find it interesting, you can definitely jump on board with what they're doing. With the age of the internet, we kind of lose that documentation, and that's why I love doing this podcasting thing, because it allows me to cement that friendship I have with these people who are doing great things out there, people that I think you should know about. As for the people that I'm interviewing, I don't have any people confirmed right now because I wanted to get this out, kind of a overview of what's going on as far as this podcast goes. So I hope you find this part interesting. As for the people I'm bringing on here, I just want to kind of briefly explain what type of people will actually be on here. One person would definitely be a Twitch broadcaster. I do a lot on Twitch, and there's a lot of Twitch broadcasters out there who I do love watching and do enjoy. I met quite a few people who would definitely, I know, be interested on being interviewed on their Twitch stream and how they create content. Musicians would definitely be another person that would be on here. I was involved with a band for many years, so I definitely want to get that musician taste on this podcast. I have a few friends that are graphic designers. I'm a graphic designer. We talk about design, our favorite artists. We could do it all here. As far as people I've already invited to be on this podcast, one is a fashion designer, another is a podcaster and a filmmaker. I've already invited some various Twitch streamers and community heads that have their own community. I've also invited my girlfriend, who is a hairstylist. I have a friend who's a teacher, and many more people who are definitely going to be on here because I want to get their point of view out to the world. I want people to know about them and what they do and the struggles that they go through and the hardships and all the cool stuff they get to do because they're in that field and they work really hard. There are even some plans of doing a live show if obviously I'm in distance of the person that I'm going to be interviewing. I thought about that being a different way to see our perspective. It might be a little hard to manage, but I hope that one day I can definitely get to that point. Now, obviously, most podcasts have an incentive that you basically listen to them and you get the tracks early, or they have a Patreon or something like that. So I'm going to incentivize it this way. If you are subscribed to my Twitch channel, aka you pay the $5 a month to be a part of my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/SRRKK, that's me, baby. You can get this track early, way before anybody else. Unfortunately, this one, you'll kind of get early because it gets uploaded, I think, before, just to confirm your podcast and your podcast name. So you're going to be getting this early anyway, and then it'll be released to the public the following day or the following couple days, whatever it may be. Well, it's been fun explaining this whole situation to you. I'm sorry that there's not more. Usually a podcast is a couple hours long, but this one is just like an introduction. It's basically a 0.5, an intro leading up to my first interview, which I don't have anybody scheduled yet, so I will figure out who will be the first interview, and I will preview it on my Twitter, which you can follow me at twitter.com/SRRKK Twitch, or you can join the Discord via my Twitch channel. So without further ado, thank you guys for listening to The Passion Designer, or watching if you're on YouTube, because I will upload a video counterpart to this. I appreciate all of you and your support, and I hope to see you guys enjoying this, loving it, whatever it may be, liking it. This will be available on all platforms that podcasts are on, thanks to Anchor. And yeah, I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you so much. Peace.